A former News 8 anchorman makes a dramatic comeback. Good evening, everyone. It's incredible but true. On this very station tonight, former anchorman Ray Wilson came out of on-the-air retirement and broadcast today's sports. We get more on this shocking but exciting event from News 8's Bridget Asaro.
We caught up with Raymond Americus Wilson as he was preparing for the 6:30 newscast. He seemed more than happy to talk to us.
We'd like to know how long you've had your eye on Ted Leitner's job.
Since he came here.
And also, what are your qualifications as a sports
I've been doing commentaries before Ted Leitner was born.
Come on.
No, that's true. That's absolutely true. I did commentaries in San Diego for years.
But what does that have to do with sports?
Sports commentaries about how bad the Chargers were.
Has your opinion changed since then?
Yeah, they're a little better lately, since I turned it over to Ted, I guess.
Well,
I tore him down too much.
I see. Are you nervous tonight?
Not yet. I will be afterwards. Depends on how well I do, of course.
Why afterwards? Are you afraid of comments from Gus Stevens?
I hope Gus is not watching.
And what tidbits do you have for us tonight?
I just have a few scores and no opinions, just a few scores. Written for me by Hal Clement.
I understand. So are you really thinking, though, of pursuing this in the future?
I don't think so. I've got other things to do.
You're needed so badly elsewhere.
Yeah, that's right. Somebody's going to tell you to get moving.
It had been years since Wilson had done live TV. He must have been a little nervous.
What's that for, sir?
This?
No, the drink of water.
That's to moisten my tubes. You want to give this to Shelley?
No.
You're not doing anything,
No.
I guess.
Hey, I was off work 10 minutes ago.
Oh, you're just doing this for love, right?
Right.
Good.
This is for posterity.
Thanks.
Finally, it was time to go on.
You want to come in?
As always, Evelyn was on hand behind the scenes, lending lots of moral support. Very easily, it seemed, Ray slipped into the anchor seat.
So we come out to a two-shot, then we go to camera one, and then when you finish, we'll be on a two-shot again.
Tonight, 30 years of broadcasting experience would be put to good use.
Stand by, gentlemen.
The way Wilson handled anchorman Laura Nancaro's introduction proved how much a pro he is.
If you've lived in San Diego for any length of time at all, you undoubtedly recognize my boss and our patriarch at News 8. He was Ray Wilson with sports.
Patriarch. Thanks a lot.
I think that's good.
Well, I hope so.
Hal got ill today.
Yeah, Hal, he wrote the material for the sportscast, but he just can't talk, and that's a terrible fate for a sportscaster or an anchorman. Shall we go on?
Sure.
Very good. It's mostly a day for the favorites of the U.S. Open Tennis Championships. John McEnroe advanced by beating Pat Dupree of La Jolla in straight
Unmistakably
sets.
Ray
McEnroe
Wilson's
on the far
voice.
court won at 6-3, 6-2, 6-3. Dupree was competitive for a while, but McEnroe just wore him down.
It was in 1951 that San Diego audiences were first introduced to his golden tones on KFMB radio, but it wasn't long before he established himself in television.
The debate over what to do about the Vietnam War continued today on Capitol Hill. Senator Charles Percy of Illinois suggested that the U.S. halt its bombing and offensive ground operations in South Vietnam as a new initiative toward peace.
One thing about Ray, he loves to reminisce about the good old days.
We had one of the most extensive news operations on the entire West Coast at that time, and it was quite a struggle finding 30 minutes of news every evening, believe me. Now, of course, we put out 90 minutes at 6 o'clock, 5:30, and we have another 30 minutes at 11 o'clock. And we have now grown to about 18 persons in the news department.
It has announced, done commercials, and anchored the news. His reporting hasn't gone unnoticed either.
In the far west today, there was a violent episode reminiscent of the Wild West. Ray Wilson of station KFMB-TV San Diego has the story there.
2 men and 2 police wounded as a result of a 4-hour gun and grenade battle in downtown San Diego today after a hold-up attempt. The first victim was identified as Louis Richards, first thought to be Louis Zimmerman, a clerk at the Loan and Jewelry Company where the hold-up was staged. Officers managed to scurry through the gunfire to recover his body. Robert Crandall, a bi-weekly newspaper editor, died of an apparent heart attack while covering the story. Scores of police moved into the area, exchanging gunfire and lobbing tear gas into the building during the 4-hour siege. Mel Knapp was there while an armored truck was used to fire directly into the building. One of the officers with a better vantage point than the ones we're looking at now has said he may be in the far rear corner. Move the armored truck back and try shooting on that side. So they're moving the truck back now for a better vantage point, hoping to be able to spray the inside. While all of this firing is going on, inside the police ambulance, right behind the armored car, the body of Louis Zimmerman, credit manager of the outfit, killed when this fighting began. The suspect was finally captured after police called on a Navy gunner's mate to throw a concussion grenade into the store where the gunman was holed up. Police then rushed in, cornered him in the attic, and shot him. The unidentified man was wounded in the stomach and the arm and was taken to the county hospital. This is Ray Wilson in San Diego.
Apparently, Cronkite struck up a great working relationship.
This is Walter Cronkite, all over the national news for CBS News in Fort New York. From the studios of TV8, Ray Wilson and Bob Regan present the award-winning TV8 Newsreel. Mel Knapp brings you another special report. Lyle Bond reports on the world of sports. Doug Oliver presents the weather word. Harold Keene interviews people in the news, and Bob Dale reports the lighter side. I'll be back with these and others on the CBS Evening News.
This portion of the news is brought to you by Safeco Insurance, your finest, most complete roof of plan protection.
Good evening. These are the world headlines at this hour. Red China says it's ready to undertake maximum national sacrifices to support North Vietnam in fighting the United States. But the broadcast from Peking does not say what form these sacrifices might take.
Ray has helped many a person who's come through the doors of KFMB, and tonight he literally saved a newscast.
Now, I'm told that you used to give real stinging Charger commentaries. Is your chance? Say something about JJ? Or?
No, I think that we'll just say that the Chargers are going to win by one touchdown Monday night.
We're going to hold you to it. Thanks. Not one, but two hurricanes are stirring up in the Atlantic Ocean tonight. We'll check on Emily and Floyd's progress towards land when we hear from Doug Oliver. Weather's next. Stick around.
How would you like
Okay. All right, Chief.
The old butterflies came back, huh?
Yeah. Do you use this one or you
No, I have my own.
Well, Chief, how was it?
Hey, don't spoil this fish.
Hard.
All right, now get out.
Oh, all right, that's right. I gotta make way for the big man, the old timer. No, I'll go collapse somewhere. Do I have to stay around for the close? I better ask the producer. Maybe she can get by without me.
Got it. I'm on camera 13.
I'm
Do I
impressed.
have to stay around for the
Ready
close?
to 5 seconds.
Yeah, that would be nice.
And
Oh, okay.
take 2.
Police in Santa Monica and Malibu have picked up about
Don't stumble and drop our camera. Now, I'm going to go wash off the makeup. Never used to use makeup, but since I got old, I decided I'd better use some. Is that better? I used my own. It was old and cracked, and I had to put a lot of water on it, but it still worked. We can use this documentary in a half-hour show some year.
A half-hour documentary would be the most appropriate way to honor someone who's made so many accomplishments, someone who's made such an impact on local television news. 30 years is a long time to invest anywhere. All of us, Ray, are glad you made the investment here.
From the studios of TV8, Ray Wilson and Bob Regan present the award-winning TV8 Newsreel. Mel Knapp brings you another special report. Lyle Bond reports on the world of sports. Doug Oliver presents the weather word. Harold Keene interviews people in the news, and Bob Dale reports the lighter side.
Evening. These are the world headlines at this hour. Red China says it's ready to undertake maximum national sacrifices to support North Vietnam in fighting the United States. But the broadcast...
No, I can't stand looking back and seeing some of the things we used to do. In the early days in our business, you didn't have field reporters. You didn't go out and do extensive interviews. For years here, Harold Keene was our reporter. the one and only, and he did, in the beginning, first few years, most of his stuff in the studio. We had only 2 cameramen, of course, and film which took 30 minutes to an hour to come out of the developing machines, so there was always a last-minute rush. And you never, if a story happened an hour or 2 before the newscast, no chance in the world you were going to get it on. We covered anything that moved.
Harold Keene and Bob Regan told you earlier on this day in 1964 about the rescue of a youngster. Now here is flash process film just out of the laboratory. It shows the boy as he frolicked in his yard after the near tragedy while his happy mother watched. A bicycle accident today at 4th and A Streets in downtown San Diego. A Pacific Messenger hit an object on A Street which caused him to fly over the handlebars of his bike.
I don't know that we have as much impact on the viewer as we did then because it was new. In the 50s, not many people had TV sets in their homes, and we were really looked upon as friends. Now there is that to some extent, but I don't believe the business has as much glamour as it had then. We were sort of like movie stars. I was really patterned after Walter Cronkite. That was the style then, and that's the way I attempted to do it. People think that anchoring is easy work, but it's not really, because you have to tense your muscles, get your stomach tight, and you have to, even if you feel terrible, you've got to project an image that you're okay and that you're vitally interested in the news that you're presenting.
Good evening. Walter Cronkite has a World Report at 7 o'clock.
It's been 10 years or so since I went off the air, and a lot of people remember my voice rather than my face. I'll be talking to someone in a store, and a passerby will turn around and say, I remember your voice. Aren't you so-and-so? Yeah, I still am, yeah.
I'm Ray Wilson. Tonight at 7:30, Harold Keene will bring you...
You knew him as Ray Wilson, anchorman, voice of authority. At News 8, we knew him as the Chief. It was a term of respect and affection. Ray Wilson, for decades, was the chief when it came to TV news in San Diego. He was not only the anchorman, he was the news director, dealing with stories, budgets, equipment, doing the work of at least 2 men and sometimes 4 or 5.
I used to wonder when I'd go home at night how we did it, and glad we survived through the day, and then worry about tomorrow.
He did it every day, 6 days a week, told San Diego what had happened that day in our town. As the years went by, Ray stayed busy behind the scenes, guiding us, pushing us, making sure we got it right. And while San Diego for years saw Ray the serious journalist, we all knew that lurking inside was a sly, deadpan sense of humor. It finally emerged on the airwaves in San Diego at large.
In this one, I'm as hot as Rudolph Valentino ever was in this Sheik's outfit, baby.
Ray was the announcer, straight man, icon, and ultimately a bit of a cult figure for a new generation of TV viewers.
We love Ray! We love him!
We did love him. So many did. It's impossible to forget Ray's last official full day at News 8. It seemed only right that he would anchor the news one last time.
Good evening. The San Diego Padres will not be sold.
On a day filled with emotion and memories, he read the news, as always, with authority and assurance. He anchored the first segment of the 5 o'clock newscast, then signed off for the last time.
This is Ray Wilson. Thanks for watching.
You might expect he got comments like, "Nice job, Ray," or "Good luck, Ray." No, Ray Wilson deserved more than that. As he returned to the newsroom, he got it. People in the news business don't applaud for just anyone. Ray Wilson wasn't just anyone. He was the chief.